I hear a little bell, and a lot of times your phone goes off at that point. But anyway, let's look back, if you don't mind, on page, maybe the way back here, on page Lamed Gimel in the Sifra the Tzniuta. Just reading what Rebbe Shimon has dropped on us. These different pairs of words, sort of like it's a gelufi de gelufi. So we discussed about. I guess this is really discussing the spread of light from the very incipients when it begins to start, the way the contractions work, and so on and so forth. And then he says, next page, he says, "Becheze de hidya arich." So he says it seems to be like he wants to put the Bchezu de hidya as one phrase, and then arich is long as another phrase. But at any rate, it's a long snake. It is appearance of a long snake. Now something appears that's like a long snake, and we saw lots of different ideas of what that could be. When it's pasha, the kan, and the kan. So once again, we saw lots of different ideas. And then you said Zonba Beresha, then as the head reaches the tail again, as it seems to be like pairs off. There's some kind of pairs here. Resha, either Achora Akaspin or it's Echad Akaspin. What if Achid Akaspin? So somehow there's a relationship between the head and the shoulders. And we saw things on that. Aver bezoyim benotters was out at bites. Different kinds of views. We have very positive views, very negative views on that. The gun is chad elef yamim, and then it gets hidden once for 1,000 years. And we went through this concept there, and now we're in a new place. And this is really just one sentence. I believe now looking at the top is number Yud Aleph. So it's sentence Yud Aleph. Maybe I don't know. I'm just going to read across the top here. It says, Isgalia Kultra Bikitroi. So you look down at the bottom and he gives you a definition of the word kultra, which is not an obvious word. As niskala ha'or shel ha'chasadim besod kesher ha'yichud shel zer anpin v'nukva. So there actually is the light of the chasadim that are involved in the transfer. He calls it a kesher of the yichud when zer anpin and the nukva come together. That light that gets transferred seems to be the word kultra. Just a second. Seems to be that word kultra. So he says anyway, it's a Isgalia kultra bekitrui. Now there's another pair, sanpir ba'advoy. I'm not sure what that means. Then it says isba reshe breaks the head, combine the yamaraba of the water of the great sea. Dechsiv shibarta roshi tadine, because this is a quote from Tehillim. It says you were able to break the heads of the snakes, al hamayim, on the water. That whole phrase is in Tehillim. That doesn't really make a lot of sense in a simple sense. So let's look over here. I'm going to bring down my camera so I can see it better. Okay, so here's the blurb. Now the blurb is going to mention some things that we maybe forgot already. Maybe I did. So at any rate, these are the ideas that we had before. Tohu shel shorish hadinim ba'klipos. The word tohu. So the tohu he wants to say is like that. Besod hanachash. This is the secret of the snake. Ve'elef yamim dechol, and the 1,000 weekdays or days of the week. Yomim, 1,000 weekdays. Nimshach mibechinas ach ba'ach, which comes to the concept when we put the two backs together. Anikra ach kospin, which is called back of the shoulders, achor kospin. He says, Yuvayer ata bechinas tikun hadinim besod yehi or. So now we're going to explain the tikun for the dinim and the concept yehi or. He said, besod yehi or shuhu sod hayichud panim bepanim. Now that's going to be the next sentence where it talks about yehi or. which says he refers that refers to the transfer of the that's a yichud face to face. Those nimshach mini yisod shef and rab shel or hachasadim. So now we're coming to this point where we're talking about the shefa, the chasadim being transferred since they're anpin to the nukva. So he says that this process, shefa shel or hachasadim, present nishba rosh hatanim, and this itself is what breaks the head of the snakes. So what's that? Shahu inyan shviras koach hagavuras v'chadinim. This is breaking them. Ayadei riboy chasadim, by there being so many chasadim now, and they're growing mayim, which are now we're calling by the name mayim. So shaviras roshit tendinim alamayim. Let me read that last part again. What is it we're talking about? The chasadim, when they make their connection. He has this metaphor which is not easy to hear. He says, "Avazen nishba rosh atanim." By making the connection, you break the head of the snake. Shehu inyan shaviras koach hagavuras v'chadinim ayidei riboy chasadim v'nikroyim mayim. So all of those ideas together, how this breaks the head of the snake. Well, he's saying that the chasadim overwhelm the snake. So he says chasadim and nikroyim mayim. So shaviras roshet tenidim alamayim. The mayim is the chesed, which we see in other places. Now there's also here some extension on number kaf tes in these notes. Let me see if I can get it on the page. There we go. So number kaf tes says in yehi or. So the idea where it says in yehi or. Now that's the next sentence really. Rei b'charas l'cholam b'shem zohar biru shel rev re tubel sham ein sham. He said b'maimer zohar l'cholam. Yivur inyan gilui ha'or v'sod ha'yichud b'lashonas ha'pesukim b'paratus. Okay, we got to go through all this a little bit. Inay the b'vur b'ha'aros the elef yamim d'chol. We had that phrase I mentioned at the beginning. These are the 1,000 days of the chol refers to galus. Hu b'chinas tohu bohu da'ach. This is the concept of when the zohar and nuk are back to back. This is the concept where you find galus, also tohu avo. Im kain. So I may be losing my voice altogether here, so I'm not sure. Im kain yivur shehagula hu b'sod panim, but panim, the gula really has to do with turning. This is that to be able to see each other properly. Avinyan zirabavur gan b'shar hagavanos. Also we have this in shar hagavanos. He said this al lashonu. Inyan Mordechai ve'Esther. Hoya b'sel v'shvim shana shal galos v'babel kanoidim. L'chein. So therefore, az kavar b'meihem hiskil inyan tikun zar v'nukva. 1 second, please. They lachzor apim ba'apim. So he says, so therefore, this is the point. See, so kavar b'chinas hiskil inyan tikun zer v'nuk. In order at this point, I don't know what the point is that this happened one time, and we're looking for it to happen again. He says the tikkun of the zir anpin, the nukva, because they lachzor apin b'panit, to be able to bring them back face to face. V'yagalu Yisrael, and then the Jewish people would be redeemed. So Rebbe said gam be'etz chaim. So the same idea we had somewhere else on Sham Kamot Ken Yisboyer Khan. What we're getting at here apparently is this exchange between zohar and nuk, panim b'panim. Kanki agalos hu b'bechinas tohu avo, b'hagvula hu b'chinas yehi or. So you have these two things, so back to back. Yehi or is font to font. Chaim b'b'rabbi tikkunei zohar is also yisrael b'zol l'shono. the Zimna, the Alfin Klip. Let me see, I can't really see it. The Zimna, the Alin Klipin Shaltin, when the Klipa are really in charge. He says in the Klipa Shaltin, Baalma is Hazer Alma Tohu Vohu. What happens is that's when the world turns into Tohu Vohu. The Hodal says this is what it means. Haaretz Chayset Tohu Vohu. Bezimna Diese Purkana. At the moment, this Purkana comes out of emptiness. Yad V'yara Elokem Yehi Or, and then Akashem brought in light. This is incidentally, I think, the Kabbalistic Capricorn was really at this time of year, it's the very darkest time of the year, praying for light. This is the light he's talking about. V'yomer Elokim Yehi Or V'hi Or Choya Or Lo Kasiv. He doesn't say that let there be light. It's like future tense. Elihi or, but he says instead of that there was light, it says there will be. Adkan. V'rei b'ser gam b'drash and sham. So there's a little bit more. So v'hinecha b'gam ki yesh the Meyer came. B'kol galos b'geula, all this concept of galos geula, you could go that way. It says darkness and light. About galos bavel canal, like we said that. Say, let me see if we get this straight. There we go. Now, on the Iker Galus who Tohu Vohu, so the main thing, Galus goes with Tohu Vohu, Ba'ach, those ideas go together. Hu Be'elef Achamishi, that's all talking about the first 5,000 years. Iker Bechinas Elef Yamim, the whole, which is really the root of the concept of the 1,000-week days. Kambavur Be'etz Chaim of Prabhu. So I know we've seen this, Al Pia Zohar. And Shamba Be'elef Ashisha, Yehi Iker Geula. This we're going to find the main part of this Geula episode. Or Rei Gamba Aras L'Chalam B'Shem, the Re double. The Shekasav Khan Bazel Lashon, this is what he says. He said, B'Simanech Ki Hine Achoshet Yechase Eretz Ba'arafel L'Umim B'Alech. So he says, let me say, you see that the darkness, deep darkness, will fall on the goyim. But on you, Havaya Yud Kevavke will shine. Adkan. This is the Shisha. This is in relationship to that Geula that's coming in the 6,000th year. Bir Yaakov Ramak, so he says like that. He says like this, like Mabur. The Tikkun Adinim Amar Khan, the Tikkun Adin that we're talking about here, it's a time when the world will become renewed. Either the Aleph Shmini, that's in the 8,000th year. Because the Ale, so we have some comment on that previously. B'Sel L'Shono, so the Haga B'Yamim Elul, the Haina Kodim Chiddush Olam, that is before then the world is renewed. Shuhu Anachas Anhagas Mu'ukalis, that's just like the world which is bent or not straight. Bilti Shara, there's no rightness, there's no straightness in it. Because of the fact that tremendous gavuros are coming into the world. Okay, you're there again. So he said, because of the tremendous dinim that are coming into the world in the Mshasher, but dinim elamal. Boy, what the heck happened here? What's going on? Are you there, Rabbi? Oh, wow. It's so complicated, the phone. Belazeh Yakar L'Chadesh, Amsios B'matik Adenim, the Bidl Yetzaharam, Baza Olam B'Kidusha, then that's going to happen, and then the world will become renewed, no Hig Han Hagad Shara, then things would run straight. From either Gisa Yesh Litzad, So from the other side, then you have to decide like this: the Ayrecha Bekan Gan Bibechin those Sefers shall Tohu Bebesa Tzilus Vahainu. So now we have to have, let's look at it from a different way and get to a Vahainu Kodem Yichud Rishon to Zer Anpin, the Oz the Emar. V'yiven Hashem Elokim Esat Salah Amuvah B'Sharim. There's a very board over there, and he says like that in regard to Inyan Achrei Kasbin when it talks about the back of the shoulder. Ba'otza B'Urim, he says Ayin Sham V'Achakach Ho Yiziva B'Chek Ava V'Ima. So once there was a yichud that took place at that time, as they were able to rise up to the Chek of Ava V'Ima, Panim B'Panim. L'chodedes Adav Rishon K'Babur Be'etz Chaim. That's a whole story over there. Okay, so it just went on that little side trip, and it's talk a lot about different things. Interesting. Let's move on. So here we are now in the Pirush Rahut, number Yud Aleph, and he writes like this: B'kol Amor La'el Hu B'Shat Shazer Anbin V'Nukva Omdim Ach Be'ez B'Chinas Shina. This is number 11. Is a Lamed is a side reference. Excuse me. The Oz Nimshach is Gambros Adene V'Hakabur B'Sad Kosle Acharaim Tezer Anbin, because there you have the Gevuros and the Dinim. Where are they? Adinim. V'Hagavuros B'Sad Kosle Acharaim Tezer Anpin. They're on the back wall of Zer Anpin, are the walls, which are the back walls of both of them. So the Nachash Rovates Bein Hayorim. Now this is that view that the Nachash shares, that is this concept that is hovering between the channels. So like I said, there's a little channel in between them, not sure. Who so the Pasuk Hasheni, this is the secret of the Bahamas. Chaisatohu. What's that mean? So that, in other words, that's considered to be Tohu. But when they turn back to forest, is Ganyel Kultra Bikitru, and then you have the touching of these two holy parts. As this Gal or Shal Chasadim, which is the concept of bringing the Chasadim in. Episode Kasher Hayichud Shal Zer Anpin V'Nukva. This is the tie between the Zer Anpin and the Nukva. Looks like it could be something in there. Number Lomba Gimel. V'Hu Soda Pasuk Shlishi. He or Haromas the his gankus, or this really refers to the revealing of the light. Now, what does Sanpir Ba'adboy mean? Kibisod Kesher Yichud and Niskar. This is the concept of the actual binding, the place of touching and tying together of this Yichud and Niskar. That's what it means, Sanpira Ba'adboy. The question. So he says, Azayich Yisod and Nikrat Sanpir. So he gives us this word Sanpir. He says this refers to the Yisod who Bechelko Shel Zer Anpin Kedei L'Chashbia Bo or Chachasodim, in order to be able to stream into that the light of the Chasadim. Inspiration. Now that was a question that we had before. How's this? What head is eration? When the actual Yichud of Kedusha takes place, it breaks the head. As Nishba Rosh Atanim Shuhu B'Bechinas Adinim Gavuros, which is the this is what he means to say. So that the Tanim represents that. B'Mayim the Yamaramba. So this is from the water from the Great Sea. What's the Mayim shall Yamagadol Shuhu Sodis Galos Ripui or shall Mayim HaChasadim. So this is revelation of the light of the water of the Chasanim shall Shefach HaYichud the Bekoich Ripui. Wait just a second. Is where we mind the Yamaramba. So we have already the concept of Mayim, which is Chesed. So he says, B'koach hamayim shel Yamagodo, from the power of the mayim that comes from the Yamagodo. So this must be the great source of the Chasadim. Shul Sotis Galos Ripui or shel Meimech HaChasadim. So this is a little repeat of that same idea. Yeah, the multitude of this tremendous light coming from the water that's taking place at the point of contact. Or so from the power of the riboy of or ball al rosh hatanim that comes onto the head of the snake. Nishbar rosh hatanim, it breaks them. So you say that this then represents. Now you have to think about this the term in human terms. It means that in the taivos that people have when they come to intercourse, there is a certain amount of the tanim in there. That's what I'm thinking. Dechsev kamosha kasa be'inyan tonkas agavuros. How it is that what you're really trying to do is sweeten the dinim. That this, I don't know if your mother still practices by thinking like this, is that the nature of women is that they're full of gavuros. And so a lot of times when they're going to go to be intimate with, think it's thinking in general with their man, uh, it could be that all the gavuros start coming out. It makes a difficult situation for the guy who's not made that way. But the thing is to put that big together because what you're looking for is the hamtaka, the gavuros, b'chasadim. So this is the idea of the really ultimate giving. Shabar to Rosh Taninim Alamayim, you break the heads of the Taninim Alamayim Pirush. Shemeshavar Rosh Taninim Shem Koich Gavuros Vadinim, which is the power of all of the Gavuros and the Dinim that are there at that time, and understand that intercourse in human terms is all one big Gavura because it's squeezing down all this one big Gavura. So it's right in the middle of that. So the idea is not to eliminate it, the idea is to sweeten it. Why do you sweeten it? Almayim bekoich riboy or by bringing a tremendous amount of or, light of giving, I guess. And from the waters of the chasadim. So then he said, V'shoil eich amarnu l'malos. So it says, how do we say up above? Isbar reshe rosh atana nishbar b'loshen yachid. So he said, let's look at it again. Isbar, now it's not Isbaru, but Isbar, the head of the snake. So he said, but Rosh Hatanim Nishbar, so he said, B'loshen Yachid. So train hovels. So wait a minute. There's two of them. So he said three them in plural. So that's the kasha. So he says Chad is Chazra. So I think we saw this previously somewhere else. He says Ki amnam Ki amnam choyushnei teninim. That's one of the answers I think we saw over there. Teninim kasiv chaser. So he says you could see that because teninim is written without the final yud. So he said Rebelchein chaser b'pasuk sham pashas precious. Teninim chaser os yud. The Moshe the nishar min shnei teninim elu rak tenin echad. There's only one tenin that's left after the end. Originally, they were male and female. Shem sel gevuros, the zer anpen, the gevuros the nukva. Bata ayidir takas a gevura besel the yichud canal. But now you've made the yichud. The yichud sweetens those gevuros. Non nishar rak gevuros bubutakim. So all that's left then are gevuros which are sweetened. The bechinas zohar l'tzorach yichud. That's all that's left. There's only one time. Let me just read this again. Seems like we're running late, or this is okay. So I want to try to get to. Okay, we just stop, and so we'll have to pick it up.